Okay, the last thing we're going to move into on the podcast is we got to talk about, like, I know we went a long time this podcast on the Mel Kiper draft, but we've got to fit this one in here, Mark. The Los Angeles Rams go ahead and this past week they cut James Laurinaitis, Chris Long, and Jared Cook. And I saw this ESPN update come on my phone, and my first thought was, what the fuck? Really?
Yeah, here's the thing for the St. Louis Rams / Los Angeles Rams, depending on if you're looking at ESPN or anywhere else on the internet.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't noticed, we figured out that ESPN doesn't have the name changed yet, and we find it hilarious. So for the Los Angeles Rams, they're basically, I mean, even though you can say, hey, the Rams' record wasn't that bad. They were a 7-9 team. But they're a 7-9 team who just moved to another city.
Which city did they move to, though? That's the more important part.
They moved to L.A.
They moved to the one city where expectations are probably super fucking high because it's L.A. I mean, maybe you're sitting there going, well, not really, because the Lakers suck, the Clippers aren't going to win the West, and the whole, like, unless you're a Kings fan, you don't have anything to root for in L.A., so the Rams are just going to fit right in as a sucky team. But no, LA's usually, to me, been that city where it's like, we expect good things from our football team. We expect to win.
What
we
football team?
Win
They
now.
don't keep their football teams.
I'm talking about USC.
Oh, you can do that. But USC, they've been
or UCLA,
not so great
depending
anymore.
on where you are in LA.
Those teams aren't so great anymore.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like LA fans are starting to get a little fed up with that.
And they'll run the next football team out of this place, too, because that's what they do.
Or they'll get two.
They get Raiders, they get Rams, and they go, you guys can leave. It's fine.
And they have the possibility to get Chargers.
But here's the thing for the St. Louis Rams / Los Angeles Rams. They...
/ Los Angeles Rams.
Depends where you're at in the internet. They kind of are admitting that, hey, you know what? We're starting over. Yes, this was basically about clearing out various cap room to kind of fix those situations that they're under. But they whiffed on the quarterback. That's not working out. Coaching is not looking so great. They're basically making decisions that aren't working out all that well for them. They're kind of just saying, all right, reboot. Not complete reboot, but we're going to reboot the majority of this. Mm-hmm. And cutting some of these guys who have been staples on the team, who have been great performing players, is exactly that. It's just saying, you know what, fine. We're doing it all over again. We are going to build this back up because we're not going to beat Arizona today. We're not going to beat Seattle today. San Francisco's starting over, so we'll do it too. And we'll build back up. We will fix the things that are wrong with our team. And we will start by going to the draft. They're basically rebirthing this team in LA.
I'm looking at it. I didn't think about it until you brought it up. I would say most, except for the Raiders, the California teams, San Diego, San Fran, and now LA. Well, yet again, looking at the teams on ESPN, they still say St. Louis, but most of the California teams are rebooting in a way.
Yeah.
Rebuilding. And I mean, maybe California's like, man, our football sucks right now.
It does.
I mean, the 49ers, what was it, three years ago? You guys had a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah.
In San Francisco in the Bay Area. And Oakland, to me, is the top team in California right now. But I immediately made the joke to Dave Oster, who is on the Fast Break podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast. I immediately said to him, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Let's move to LA where the lights are brighter than St. Louis, but we'll just cut all our good players. We'll just cut all our good veterans. And
got to restart.
I know Rams fans who are in LA that are finally coming out of the woodworks like, oh shit, we have a football team again? I can pull out this old Rams shirt or jersey or helmet or whatever you guys have because you've had Save the Rams or bring back the Rams for so many years. I know it saves them $24 million in cap space. But did you really have to let them go? to me, especially James Laurinaitis, you spent such a high draft pick on him. I'm going to say second round was high for Laurinaitis. 35th overall. These close to a first rounder. It didn't seem like he was doing anything that warranted him getting cut. And each one of these guys, we talked about Cromartie being like, you won't hear about him right away. These guys are going to get offers right away on the 9th at 3 o'clock.
Probably, yeah. They probably should.
These guys, because I mean, Laurinaitis, yeah, it's been 4 years since he's had a 100 tackle season, but 61 tackles. And I mean, yeah, the sack numbers were kind of down, but he had three safeties this year, a pass deflection, an interception. And I mean, this is a guy who is still going to go out there and just get after players. Is he going to probably get them in the backfield? Maybe not as much, being the middle linebacker that he is, but he can still get after guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. For me, the thing I like most about this is it's telling of where the St. Louis/Los Angeles Rams are as a team. They are a team who admits that they're in that kind of middle ground, and they're just going to do it over. Do they draft a quarterback? Because that's usually what teams do when they reboot. They go in the draft and they get a quarterback.
Well, it depends.
As we talked about,
Peyton Manning?
No. Ricky, stop it.
Because that's what they want. They want Manning.
You cut that out. As we talked about earlier in this podcast, in the mock draft section.
Manning.
Equal Manning. They, according to Mel Kiper, not going to take that quarterback. They're going to pass on this one. I find it hard to believe that the Los Angeles Rams don't draft a quarterback in this
unless they
draft.
bring back Nick Foles.
I don't know if they want Nick Foles. I mean, they pretty completely whiffed on this whole Nick Foles trade. They could not score points. They had the worst passing attack in the entire NFL. Rushing, all right. Rushing was good. You were one of the better rushing teams for sure. Your defense wasn't all that bad. They were a little above average for sure. So the thing that you got to work on is exactly that. It is passing. It is scoring points. That's what you got to do. They go to the draft and get that quarterback. Unless they really, I mean, maybe some people might say this is writing on the wall that they're clearing out cap space because they're going to go big money for that Peyton Manning. But no, it's not going to happen. I can't imagine that they're big moneying for some player. I really think it's just them saying, clear out everything. We're not getting to the playoffs this year, next year, or the year after that.
Get a high draft. Oh, God, I hate when team.
I don't necessarily think that they're tanking. I just think that they're rebooting.
Me of the 76ers. Let's tank for the pick. But, I mean, in the NFL, you can tank for that number one pick and actually get it. One thing I do want to say, and this goes for a comment that we got on a past video last week when it came to, because we kind of mentioned some of the high quarterbacks when we talked about who could get tagged and who could not. One of the comments that we had mentioned a Carson Palmer being a free agent this season. And I kind of raised an eyebrow a little bit because the comment, and I'll say it, you forgot to add Cardinals Carson Palmer is a free agent. And I kind of raised my eyebrow because I'm like, really? I'm looking at Spot Rack right now. He's technically under contract with the Cardinals till 2018. So he's got 2 more seasons. And technically it could be 2019. Because 18, they've got a club option with him.
Well, I can't imagine Carson Palmer wants to go anywhere anyways.
No, he's with the Cardinals. And I mean...
This is a team that nearly went to the Super Bowl.
And I mean, if he was a free agent, unless the Rams are going to throw out a huge contract at him, you know what I could see the Rams doing? Let's say I'm going to bring Peyton Manning into it. Not Peyton Manning going to them. If Peyton Manning dicks around like he is and doesn't give the Broncos an answer... and the Broncos let this mull without actually saying, hey, give us an answer by this time or we're cutting you. He's going to dick around, and Brock the Cock could
No.
Go on to free agency.
Let's all calm down.
I could see the Rams.
Let's all calm down.
Wait. I could see the Rams throwing a ridiculous amount at Brock the Cock and overpaying him to be their quarterback.
I still stand by this. Money speaks. I know that everybody likes money, but you don't go from the best team in the NFL, which is your team now.
Do we know that? Because Peyton Manning hasn't retired.
We know it for a fact. John Elway has zero interest in Peyton Manning anymore.
And it seems like, well, if he did, then why is he still
because he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Okay, that's
he's not
bullshit.
Tom Brady.
That is fucking
He is not
bullshit.
Tom Brady, but he is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. They're giving him respect.
If you are John Elway,
who is the GM? John Elway, exactly.
Of
the best quarterbacks of all time as well.
If you are John Elway, and you have, like you said, are already moving on from Peyton Manning, you either A, tell him so that your decision doesn't fucking matter, or B, you say, hey, you can pick up the phone and just call him and say, hey, you know what? Can we get a decision before the 9th? Just so I can talk to Brock in case you retire.
They've had the conversation with Brock. Brock knows exactly what's happening. They're all going to be hush-hush because John Elway respects that quarterback, NFL player brotherhood. He respects that. He knows how it is. Now, he's probably sitting there going, Peyton, come on, man. Would you mind hurrying
honestly,
up? But they've had the conversation
this goes
with Brock.
on the other side, too, where Peyton Manning, I get it. You don't want to rush into anything.
He's drinking his Bud Light right now.
By this time, you've got to know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know whether you want to or you not. I'm going to say something that my grandmother used to say all the time. Shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
That's what Peyton Manning has to do because the Broncos are right now being held at gunpoint by Peyton Manning.
Oh, no, they're not.
And I could see if this doesn't get resolved before that 9th and free agency opens, as soon as free agency opens, if nothing's in stone that Brock has a deal with the Broncos, now will Brock take it? I don't know. But I'm just saying, I could see the Rams saying, here's a ridiculous amount of money, probably overpaying you, but here you go. Here's a ton of money.
I don't think that there's a chance at all that Brock Osweiler is A, not a Denver Bronco next year, B, that he has any doubt in his mind about Peyton Manning being the starting quarterback. He knows it's his team. And they're not supposed to do this type of stuff really, but there's no doubt in my mind that they've had that conversation behind a closed door that said, hey, don't worry about it. You are our guy next year, but we can't talk about it yet. This conversation never happened. It never exists. I haven't seen you since the Super Bowl.
Don't Hillary Clinton now. Don't let there be emails about that.
Don't have email.
Conversation.
Don't have it in your phone like Tom Brady and have to destroy your phone.
Oh, what phone? That's in the river.
What phone? Smash. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thanks, Aaron, for the advice.
Yeah, right. So I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Yes, teams would probably overpay Brock Osweiler, but like I said, the Denver Broncos are the best team in the NFL, and there's no better coach out there for Brock Osweiler than Gary Kubiak. They're a match made in heaven. I hate to say it because I don't really care about Gary Kubiak that much, but they are a match made in heaven. So this is the perfect situation. He's not going anywhere. He's a smart man.
And this topic kind of took a little bit of a turn from the Rams to the Broncos. But before I go on my spiel, ending the podcast, just simple question. The cuts for the Rams, do they make sense? Yes or no?
Yes, they do make sense for a team that is rebuilding.
I'm going to say...
And the Rams just admitted that they are a team that's rebuilding.
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say no at the same time because...
Because you're copping out.
There's one of those guys, and I'm talking about Laurinaitis, who I would have kept him more... I mean, Jared Cook to me is not an elite tight end, so yeah, you can cut him, but if I had to choose one, I'd say yes, I guess, because the Rams are the Rams, and Stan Kroenke can go fuck himself. But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick this week. I want to thank you guys for listening, whether it's on SoundCloud or in the individual parts on YouTube. You guys are the main reason why we do this podcast. If you could, please go ahead, hit that repost and heart button on SoundCloud, that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Go ahead, if you're an iTunes user, you can catch the Onside Kick and all of Most Valuable Podcasts on iTunes. Get them right to your phone or tablet so you know exactly when our podcasts are out. I'm Ricky Widmer, at Ricky Widmer. Mark is at the Mark Weber. Most Valuable Podcast is at Most Valuable Pod. I want to thank you guys again for checking this one out. We'll see you next week. But as always, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.